my team, we're huge proponent. Like obviously we like to working with other people, but like 95+% of the deals we have in contract are generated by team members. Obviously, again, like we said, I'll do deals with other brokers, but I don't like splitting commissions, right? Like it's enough to split between the people on the team, let alone taking a 6% or 4% commission and then splitting it in half and then half again. Because it's like, again, you might have, let's just say, our team typically sits between $1 million and $3 million worth of pending commissions at any point in time. It's like if that's just my team, there's typically only maybe, two people to split it, the agent and me, or maybe three. There's two agents and me. So it's like most of the time I'll make about a third net to me, if not more, maybe half or more. Now, again, that doesn't include my own production, which I get 100% of. But then it's like when you have other agents you got to split it with, all of a sudden 50% of it's gone. And then, my third, as an example, would be a third of half.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden I'm only making 17%, or so, 16 and a change percent of the deal. So it's like, what was even the purpose of doing the deal to make nothing? So that's why I'm so
I did in what I computed. I did take out other people's splits and my brokerage split. So that's going to be coming to me pre-tax. If the ISA team, they generate that lead on the residential side, which I do not work with them at all because it just was a disaster trying to do that. They take 50. So, I mean, it's a substantial hit. And could I generate this? Absolutely, which is why I decided to, hire you on Monday last week.
And then of those deals that are currently in contract, how many of them are commercial? How many of them are resi?
I have 0 residential.
Okay, just curious. Okay, cool. And then so like the deals that are in contract are what type of deals?
One is a 2.18 acre parcel for Discount Tire. I have one under contract for a small two separate parcels that are under contract for small residential waterfront developments. I have a warehouse under contract I'm the buyer rep on. I have another one that potentially, that one's not done yet. What else do I have? A land development opportunity that actually Jake brought downtown. Then we just closed on Bogard, which was just a townhouse. We work with a guy that flips luxury properties downtown before he has to do the reno.
So again, I want to know more about the process. So like, it sounds like they're bringing you the sale and you have the buyer, or how is that broken down?
Yes, we're listing all of the properties. On a lot of them, we've gotten, out of those that I mentioned, we've only gotten both sides on 2. So the other ones have buyer rep.
Got it. So you're getting half the commission, which is roughly how much on your half?
Discount Tires, about $100,000.
I'm saying percent-wise.
We charge anywhere between, Discount Tires 5% to me. Apple Street.
You're getting 5% to you and 2% out?
No, we didn't have a buyer's rep on one side, so it's co-listed with the owner and myself, so we're taking all of it. Same happened with Apple Street, so we're both getting 3.5% each. Bogard, we should have done that with, but that was my mistake. Evelina, we're double siding it too because it's a developer that's buying it, so that one will be another 5 and 5 to us.
You're getting 10% commission?
Yeah. We were charging 10% commission on land.
Great. And then again, all the generation of those opportunities were from the brokers in the company?
Not all, but pretty much the majority of it, yes. Just Bogard was not that one listing that we had.
And then you split the deal 50-50 with that agent?
Yes, and we also had a referral fee, and that was Jake.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So based on everything we're talking about here, I mean, it sounds like, and again, I can be wrong, and again, I'm just talking ideas with you, and so we can talk about discussions and next steps, right, for a clear path here. Obviously, your goal here would be to generate more of these opportunities yourself, right, so that you're not creating referral fees, or is that not the case?
I would rather go more towards your model, like where we're not having to take it to market and play these games, because a lot of these sellers are unsophisticated that we're going after. They're the low-hanging fruit, and there's like 7-10 owners on it, and I can tell you I've earned every dime of some of these commissions and more. It just makes more sense. We have the connections on the buyer side just to put them together and stop wasting our time playing this game.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, because you already have the buyer business, you already have the buyer connections, or you need more?
We always need more, but we do have some very strong ones. In our market for specific asset classes, they're more leaning towards development and luxury. Yep. So we definitely could cast that stronger. I spend a lot of time trying to get all of my buyers out of my phone today and into our database, because that's where I've really failed as a leader, is converting these opportunities that Jake will find into actual transactions. We're doing a little bit better, but when we come across different asset classes, because I'm prospecting more high probability versus asset class, we kind of can run into like who wants to buy a 148 unit mobile home park right now, or who wants to buy this piece of land downtown for development.
Okay, well, look, I mean, a couple quick things that we can talk about, right? Let's break things down, right? So first off, if we're just talking investors, like buyers wise, and we can talk about, bringing these deals, doing more of these deals off market. So I'm going to share my screen for a second.
Can you do it by zip code?
Yeah.
29403.
And give me an asset class that you're working on right now in this market.
Multifamily, 2 to 4 units.
You said 2 to 4 units?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, obviously, you could probably do the same thing on PropStream as an example, because I know that you said I think you were using that as well.
I'm not using PropStream, but I probably will transition over. I already have like pretty much everything except for that.
Well, the only reason why I say PropStream is only because you're using that's really good for smaller multifamilies. Reonomy is obviously for a little bit larger. So like, I'll give you the same process, but like again, like I'll give you an example for 5 to 10 units, right, or 5 to 20 units with Reonomy. Okay, but it's the same process. Does not matter, whatever asset class is. So let's just say it's multifamily, but again, this works for retail. This looks for industrial. This works for any asset class you come across. Okay, basically what you'll do is you choose a zip code or even search up a property, and then you'll zoom out maybe a mile, a quarter mile, 5 miles, whatever it is. But we'll do multifamily general. Let's say 5 to 20 units as an example. And then we'll do sales within the last 2 years. Okay. Within the last 2 years, there's 4 properties in this market that are multifamily 5 to 20 units sold in the last 2 years in the zip code. And then I'll hit apply. Then I'm going to go to owners. So now I can see every single owner here who has bought something within the last 2 years, multifamily. So I can reach out to any one of these people. Every one of them has at least one asset in this area. This guy, Tim, has a couple properties in this area, but he hasn't bought something since 2012. So we'll probably ignore that one. But every other person here has bought a multifamily in the last 2 years. So you can do this with any asset class, right? So any asset class you're trying to find a buyer for, this is exactly what my team does. We find the property. We basically reverse look it up. So like, let's just say now I wanted to do the same thing, but instead of that, I wanted to do retail, right? So I look up, instead of multifamily, I'll uncheck that box. I'll go to commercial. Even it doesn't matter what asset class, but look, this is just the owners who have all sales within the last 2 years. Owner includes a phone number. So you can basically look up all the biggest buyers in your marketplace, right? Like, so again, this guy, Jason here, owns 17 properties in this market. He owns office, some commercial, general, mostly that means like mostly retail most of the time. He owns some multifamily and owns some retail. So this is a big time buyer. I would get to know Jason in this market, and I would go through the top 50 people in every one of these markets, any specific asset classes you wanted. You could even search by portfolio size. You can really figure out whoever the biggest buyers are, even if they don't own a bunch of stuff in this market. But you can see, like, I don't know if you're going to get a hold of Crow here, but I would probably, obviously, you can try to reach out to these private equity people, but the odds of getting a hold of them are not exactly high.
Right.
But like, I would look at like, again, a Jason, Jason probably would be a good person. You can even sort by person instead of the company, so you eliminate all the nonsense. So there you go. Jason would be number 1. Doug, Mike, reach out to every single one of these people. Probably the top 20 on this list would be a good person to start with.
Makes sense.
All right. And then like, this is going to be like all your buyers. Again, this is just for your zip code. If you want to get more narrow, again, you can go to building and, property type, and you can type in, again, I only want to know the retail property owners, right? I only want to know like the industrial property owners. I only want to know whatever. Right, whatever you want to focus on. Now, this is, so what we'll do is that, like, and then, here, I'm going to stop sharing. And then basically now that we have all the buyers, we'll then reverse prospect for those individuals, right? And we'll go to work just finding property. After we get them on the phone, we vet them, we figure out exactly what they're looking for. We'll go prospect for that specific asset. So that means everything we find, we try to find at least 3 or 4 or 5 buyers before we start prospecting for something, right? Because just in case you prospect for one person, that one person doesn't want it, you now have a deal for nothing. We'll try to find 3 or 4 or 5 or even 10 investors who all want a similar type of asset class, a similar type of product, and then we'll reach out to that type of product on a mass scale, knowing that we have a very high probability of selling anything that we come across. That's more for the buyer side. Now, the other side of the coin, again, if we want to, I'll share my screen again. Let's flip it around. So there's a couple things you can do for like high priority lists. I'm going to clear this all out. We'll do it again. Let's do your zip codes. That's 29403, right? So you have this zip code. What I would do is to find the best sale list to prospect, you reverse it, right? So Obviously, we're going to just include a phone number. I want to do people who own like less than 2 properties in their portfolio. We'll do asset class last as an example. I do not want something built after the year 2000 because the odds of them, if they just built it or if it's newer construction, they're going to want a premium for it. I'm also going to look at things like you can go to debt and you could say like maturity date within the next 12 months. So you're going to have properties that like they have debt on it and the loan is coming due, right? In commercial, we only get 5, 7, 10-year loans. Most of the time, sometimes they're a little bit shorter if they're like hard money or something like that. But again, within the next 12 months, we'll give you a very high likelihood that these people are probably open to the idea of selling. The last thing I'll check off is like that they bought it not within the last, let's say, at least 10 years. I might go to 20 years, depending on how many properties you find in an area, right? Now, I prospect statewide. So like as an example, if I look at a state like, Carolinas, North or South Carolina, whatever it is, I'm going to prospect the whole state. Right now, because you only have 5 properties here, so you can hand dial this if you wanted to. But again, office building sucks. Office building sucks. This one might be a good one to target. This 9,000 square foot shopping center here. You have a little teeny multifamily property here, and then this one says religious, but you can try to reach out to this group here. But like again, you only have 3, so that's why again I like to call statewide. So instead of me, only doing that, what's the county here? Let me just get rid of this zip code, hit apply. So anyways, here you go. So you have 28 properties here, right? And obviously, like I'm going to get rid of some asset classes that I don't want to talk to, like an office. I don't really care. Retail, I'm interested in. Hospitality, I might be interested in. Industrial, multifamily, whatever it is, right? Anyways, but even county-wide, it's kind of crazy that you only have this many. There's, again, big reason why I call statewide. Because again, if I do South Carolina, at least have 100, right? Like again, I can call this prospecting list. This might take me a day or 2 or 3 to get through, but at least I don't have 3, But like this will be a very high priority list. Again, you could also to find a lot more of them instead of doing. Let's not do South Carolina State. Let's get rid of the maturity date. So now we're up to 745 properties. I'll do instead of 10 years, I'll do 20. Like hasn't sold in 20 years. And then I also like to let's just say you're doing. So like anything that's like retail or industrial, it works off of a price per square foot basis. So retail, I'll get rid of anything else real fast. Retail and industrial, because they typically will still on people care about the price per square foot as a basis. What we'll do is that we can go to the sales tab and you can even mark it as something that sold for like less than $75 a foot when they sold it last. Because that means if we offer them 100 or 150 a foot, even though it's a 200 a foot market, they might be interested in selling.
Makes sense. So when you float these deals, I know Jake and I were talking before we jumped on the call. How do you guys actually present that offer over to the person that you don't have a relationship with? And
so you're saying again, like I have a seller lead. I want to present this to a buyer that I'm not familiar with.
Exactly.
First thing we always like to do is let's talk about what we don't do. We do not just send an email and hope and pray. Every time you send an email and you hope and pray, whether it's a letter of intent or details about a property, you're basically, unless you're mass blasting a deal. Because we do a lot of mass blasts to like an entire 2,000, 5,000 person list. And then we're going to have people who inquire about certain properties, but it's this much information about a deal. It's not like I'm just sending out an OM and hoping and praying people read it, review it, whatever. We have, let's just call it let's say I'm cold calling around, okay? Which I've done a couple of videos online where like, as an example, I'm calling up, let me see if I can do this real quick. I'll show you. Because I want to give you an exact true example. Let me share my screen again. We're just going to go back to one of the previous searches. Second, and let's say we do you all. We want to go back to what we just did. Maturity date. All right, because I'm basically just going to go back to this one. Again, let's say a multifamily deal, okay? And I'm cold calling these people, like we just talked about. I'm calling up Jason or whatever. I'm calling up any one of these people. The script is very simplistic. It's basically going to be like, hey, John, my name's Henry with EXP Commercial. Just giving you a call about your property, 123 Main Street. How are you? You just say, good, whatever. It's like, John, look, unlike a lot of brokers who might call you for a listing, I actually happen to have another property right down the street from your property on 123 Main Street. The seller's looking to sell for a wonderful price, and I noticed you own something very similar to it, and I was curious if you'd be totally against buying another property in town, right? Very few people say no. And then the more important part is vetting them before I waste my time talking about the deal. So I'll be like, okay, just curious, John, is this the only property that you own or do you own a couple other properties in town? No, this is the only property I own. So like, okay, so what I'm hearing is that you're typically not in the market to buy some. I'm taking it away from them. Because if I want to work with people who own 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 properties, right? Because the likelihood is that they're in the business of buying real estate, right? Because if I randomly call up John, who happens to be a doctor, and he just happened to buy some random property because he works there, the odds of him buying a multifamily in town or whatever the case may be is going to be low. Now, let's say I vet him a little bit. It's like, okay, just curious, is this the only property you have in town? No, I own 15 other properties in town. Like, and you can kind of see, Reonomy gives you all the details. You can see that they own a lot of stuff. Like, okay, well, look, are you specifically looking for more properties, just like XYZ, or do you typically look to buy anything else, right? Like, if it's like, okay, I'm calling you about your property that's a multifamily. Do you typically buy multifamily real estate, or are you looking to buy any other type of asset? Again, I'm still trying to qualify to understand, should I present him this deal or not? Because again, I don't want to start talking about a deal when I think the likelihood of him buying is low. And once he answers a few questions of mine to make sure I vetted him appropriately, I'll get into the deal. We're like, look, let me talk about the deal. Do you have 2 minutes to review it? Yeah. And just to be clear, John, are you in front of a computer? Because I want to give you an address so you can look it up. I want to pitch the deal in real time with him. I don't want to be pitching the deal and he's driving his car, right? And he's thinking hypothetically. I want him to be in front of a computer. I want him to be looking up the address while I'm giving it to him and envisioning everything I'm talking about. And like all the numbers, I want him to be doing the numbers with me over the phone. Because a lot of the people are just like, yeah, send me the details, I'll review it later. I'm not doing it. They're like, are you in front of a computer right now? Let's talk about it. He says yes. And if he's not, and by the way, if I hear that he's driving, it sounds like you're driving. Let me do a call back when you're in front of a computer. When would that be? I book a call to discuss the deal with him. If he's in front of a computer, I'll actually talk about the deal. Okay? And I will not, if he's, just send me an email. This is not one of those types of things where I'm going to send you an email. This is an off-market property. I'm going to have it sold by the end of this week. It's either going to be with you or somebody else in town. So again, I'm keeping control. Now he says he's in front of his computer. To talk about it like this. Very, very direct information. Address is 123 Main Street. Tell me when you have the property address up. Okay. Property's 5 units. All 5 units are occupied. The rents are ranging between $1,000 and $1,500 a month. Total rent is $75,000 a year. The expenses are X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Net operating income estimated as per the owner of the property is $40,000. Owner did the roof recently. Owner did a couple of renovations recently, but every single tenant is on a lease. Nobody's month to month. Nobody's Section 8 or nobody's state income tenants. Based on the fact that you bought the last multifamily property down the street here, the one I called you about, 123 Main Street, you bought that one for $200,000 a door. This property is at $195 a door. Like I told you, I'm going to have this sold by the end of the week because I have 3 other people within the next hour that I'm going to talk to right after you. So again, is this something you might be interested in? Yes. Okay. What other information would you need to see or hear in order to make an offer on this? He's going to tell you exactly what he needs. Oh, I need a rent roll. Oh, I need this. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, we're not going to get a rent roll in time for you to be, to take this deal down if you don't hypothetically have it. Or I like to just have all that ready to go. You said you're in front of your computer, right? I just emailed you the rent roll. Or what's your email? Let me send you the rent roll. We'll talk about it right now. I want to be prepared. My intention is that when I'm calling him, I'm getting an offer today. And by the way, I'm okay with a range. I'm not okay with nothing. Because at the very end, I'll be like, look, based on everything we just talked about, what price range do you feel like you're going to be in? And then I shut up. And I want to hear him tell me a price. Because if I say, hey, let's just say, because he bought something for $200 a door. You can see it's a 5-family. He paid $1 million. He paid $200,000 a door. This property is a better price per door than what you bought it for. Right? What you bought your last property for. What price range would you be on? Well, I'd probably be in the price range that you're asking. Okay. So just to be clear, okay, because like I said, I'm going to sell this deal by the end of this week. When can you get me something in writing? If I were to draft a letter of intent right now for $1 million, would you be willing to sign it today? No. Okay, why? And you go into the objection handling. But I need an offer range. Because if he goes, I'm probably going to be closer to 700. Like you just paid $200 a door over here. Why do you believe why are you at 700,000? And I want to dig into that right away. Because a lot of the time is that we make a few mistakes. One, you just send in the information, you hope and pray it's good. You don't get to communicate. I like to just be direct with people. Is this just a kind way of telling me you're not interested in the property, which is totally fun? Because then I pivot back to being their buyer broker. Because look, in that moment, I'm not representing them, quote unquote. I'm not in their fiduciary. We didn't sign anything. I'm not here to be their fiduciary. I'm here to get them to make an offer. But as soon as I hear that this deal is not good for them, I want to flip to a fiduciary. Right? I want to flip now and say hey, look, my true intention here, my entire intention is to find you deals that you make sense of, right? I see that you own 10 other properties in town, right? I've vetted him. I made sure that this is a good buyer. I want to spend time with this person. I obviously would love to find you more opportunities in town, and I come across off-market opportunities all the freaking time. So tell me more about what you're actually looking for, because clearly, like you mentioned, this property does not meet your requirements. and I just go into a buyer console.
And Henry, are you ever worried about getting circumnavigated by these people? Like, where they just can go straight to the seller? Or is that not something you're even concerned about?
It's happened to me less than I can count on one hand. Will it happen in your career? 100% if you do this. But I'm telling you, it's not a common thing.
So
the people who go around you are not seasoned professionals.
Makes sense. You have no concern signing any sort of documents with seller or buyer with that before?
If a seller asks me to sign something, I'll make buyer sign something. Like if they make me sign an NDA, I'm making them sign an NDA. If they make me sign a confidentiality agreement, I'm making them sign it. But if I don't have to sign anything, they don't have to sign it.
But just like a comp agreement or anything, do you ever get like a comp agreement? Okay, perfect.
I'll tell you why. Because every broker goes through all this. By the way, every broker asks the same questions. By the way, because we've all been taught to get doc signed. Even if you were to get doc signed, they can still go around you, and then what? You're going to end up in court.
Yeah.
And so it's not like it doesn't eliminate the fact that they can go around you. It makes it more expensive for them because then you're going to sue them. But again, it doesn't just mean you win. So it doesn't really mean much. Now, obviously, when you have an exclusive right to sell agreement it's listed on the market, they can't go around you. But like what they can do is wait till your listing expires and then go to it. You know what I mean?
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
You got it.